Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. So let's be honest, this is the greatest job on the planet. Doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, your personality type. You can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest, no stranger to the journey, I'd like to welcome my new friend, Mr. Nathan Newberry. How are you, brother?
Hey, I'm super glad that you have me on the podcast, man. Glad I can be on here and share anything I can help with your audience here.
Well, I appreciate it, and I want to jump right into it, man. You've been in the sales and marketing world a long time, so let's get into a crazy sales story.
I have a variety of ones. I've been in sales circumstances where people are trying to hit on me to sleep with me. I've had it where, I've had, different circumstances where I'm really helping people, like where you got the heart issue and you care for people a lot and they just can't see it, and you're trying to break it down. I mean, there's all sorts of wild things, with different stories. Like overall, though, it's like, what I try to come across with is just really helping people with no strings attached. If I can help them or not, I'm just really there to help them with it as much as possible. So I've come from a background of being a pastor for years. And then I went into doing marketing for 9 years. And then I sold my agency and then got into high ticket sales and then I did really well with that. Like I got the awards, got the plaques and everything because I cared for people. And then I started managing sales teams. And then now I turn around with helping people build a business online, and everybody needs more leads. They need to know how to, build sales teams or do sales. But the big thing is just helping people, like having that, not just, commission breath is what I've seen. That's worked really, really well, man.
It's always so interesting to me how when you're getting into sales, a lot of times you're getting into it because you don't have a choice. Like, I got to go make some money, so I got to go do this thing. And this is the one thing that I can get paid really quickly on. So, like, let's go do that. And, you get into it with the mindset of, hey, let's go make money, which is great because we all need money. We all want to make more money. Don't get me wrong. But the people who are most successful are the ones who find that in themselves and they decide, hey, I'm going to do service and I'm going to take care of people. And so coming from the pastoral background that you had, I have to imagine that like serving wasn't new to you, but how did you make that transition when you got into like sales and marketing? How did you really flip that switch for yourself?
Well, I mean, I remember reading the book from, Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki, right? And he has the whole story where his, dad is a well-to-do guy, professor, all of this. And then his rich dad is an entrepreneur, but making loads of money. And his rich dad's like, hey, just go learn how to do sales and that will serve you really well. And I'm a big advocate for that because I think that's the number one skill that everybody needs to learn in everything, right? It's like, I have kids, I'm married, you have to convince your kids to eat broccoli, and vegetables every day. You have to convince your wife to, you have to find, a spouse. You have to, negotiate on everything. So it's not like the bad part of like the Wolf of Wall Street and like the Boiler Room where everybody gets bad taste in their mouth. But it's just like, how can I serve people? And if you do that the best way and then just study how to communicate and negotiate really well, you're going to stand out and you're going to be able to do really, really well. But overall, I try to be present as much as I can. And I'm empathetic and I'm just understanding, can I help this person? And not in a way of like manipulating them, but just understanding their needs. And then you have what you're passionate about. And the two things I think that are so important for a closer that does really, really well, a salesperson, they have to have two things. They have to have the identity of knowing who they are and where they're coming from and how they're supposed to live in with that purpose. If they know from that, from their maker and why they're here, they're going to have a swag about them. They're going to have confidence in how to conduct themselves. Because most of the time, a lot of salespeople, especially at the very beginning, are very timid. They don't know who they are. They're just trying to figure it out. That's where it's like, you got to do that work of understanding who you are and why you're here. And when you do that, then you're going to come across of like, hey, all right, I know who I am. And then the second part of this is conviction. Like you got to love what you sell. Right. And if you aren't passionate and conviction that that thing is going to actually solve the problem that they have, there's going to be misalignment. And I've had many opportunities where to manage or be in sales roles for things, but I'm like, I can't see that. Like, I'll give you an example. Say there's a lot of money being made in like the women's fitness, and the influencer there, but I'm a guy. I can't resonate with, postpartum women or overweight women. Like, it's just like there would be a misalignment with that. Like, everybody needs to get healthy for sure. Maybe there's a way that I could do that, but I've seen people that just take whatever offer and then they don't do well and they wonder why. And then they, say, hey, maybe it wasn't for me, being sales. You're like, no,
Mm.
you just need to be confident, know who you are, be able to stand out and, be able to help people with that service mentality and attitude. And then the other part is just having conviction, knowing what you're going to sell is going to solve their pain and their challenges that they have.
Yeah, that's so good, Nathan, because like when you run into those people who are selling something that they don't have that belief or that passion for, it comes across very quickly. And
Yep.
here's a great example for you guys that are listening. You ever walk through like a Walmart and there's a DirecTV guy that's standing there, and there's usually two of them. One of them is super outgoing and all about like, "Hey, how are you doing? I'm excited to chat with you." And the other is just like, "Hey, do you need DirecTV? Who's your cable provider?" There's
Right.
zero passion, zero excitement. And while I'm not going to buy DirecTV when I'm walking through a Walmart, I am watching for that excitement because as someone who's in sales, I want to see that. And when I see that, I'm like, hey, if you're not doing well here, you will be successful somewhere. We just have to find you the right product and offer. Because when you can get excited about something that is not sexy, like DirecTV sales in the middle of a Walmart, you can go out and be successful. And what I love what you said is about kids, right? Kids are the greatest salespeople on the planet because they're not afraid to ask multiple times. They're not afraid to be told no and reframe the question in a way that still gets them closer to the goal. And what I think is really interesting is like salespeople, they will be told no 10 times and then they'll give up. A kid will be told no 1,000 times and still find another way to ask for the thing. So, what I would be curious, do you have kids, Nathan?
I got three little ones. Yeah.
Three little ones. So, you've dealt with this as you've been, going through this cycle and raising your kids. How often do you find yourself as a trainer and a leader saying, hey, what you're doing here is XYZ. This is what you're doing, and this is why it's going to benefit you as you get older because this is a skill set for entrepreneurial success.
Totally. I raise my kids that way. It's like, hey, you whining and pouting doesn't help. This is how, if you wanted to convince me this is how you should do it. You get those teaching
Mm.
moments.
Have you ever run into a situation when you're working with a sales organization or a team and you're kind of like trying to explain something very tactical and it works, but then you realize that you're talking to an audience of like deer in the headlights and you have to go back to doing something that's like super elementary and basic on like explaining how it actually works?
Yeah, all the time. And sales is, you have like key principles, but then there's strategies that, help, depending on the situation or the gender or the type of buying process or the, marketing side of things that you see why people convert more than others. Right. I'll give you an example. Like some people like, a lot of testimonials. Some people are really logistical. They need to know the exact numbers and time and all the little details. And you got some other people that are a little more emotional. So it's like you got to tie the emotion part to it more. So it's like you got to understand who you're talking to and what their buying modes are. That is not easily taught, right? It's like you you got to experience it, and then you got to know and like study and process, like, what does this person need, why is this person acting this way. And then there's the NLP, their neuro linguistics, programming. That's something you got to learn in everything. It's like, why is someone leaning back, or why is someone leaning forward, why is people have their cross arms, like why are they looking this way when they say this, or their temperament or the way they say something. It's like, I hear some reluctancy in your voice there. What do you mean by that? And they're like, you know, or, or you're with, a couple. I had a sales call the other day, and it was a couple, and the wife was wanting it, and she was wanting him to be on it to convince him. So most of the conversation steered toward him, because if I can convince him, his wife's already bought it. Right. So you got to know that from bad experiences, right? Like if I'm trying to convince the wife, but the husband is the one that's not out, then it's like, who's the buyer? Who do I need to convince more? And so I think it's just off of experience, and then having mentors around you that can point out some of those things for someone to really learn really well. The things on stage, you got to just generalize it and then use a lot of stories as much as you possibly can to, understand it. Or role play is where people learn most. And, yeah.
I absolutely am nerding out over here on the fact that you also mentioned the NLP, the neuro linguistic programming, because before you even got to that, you were talking about, how do people think? How do they operate? What is their, the technical term is the internal representation type, right? It's how do they, in their unconscious mind, process information? And it is definitely a skill that you can learn to read individuals, and funny enough, they'll tell you exactly what you need to know in order to help decide that. Like, is it someone who uses words like, I need to see that, or I'd like to take a look, versus, hey, do you hear what I'm saying? Does that resonate with you? There's these little nuances that when
Mm-hmm.
you start to study the psychology of humans and their behavior, it will take your sales game to the next level. Because often, as you just said, there's something behind the words that they're using in that conversation that, if you know this stuff, will lead you to be able to bring out the parts of them that they aren't necessarily saying out loud. But this is what I love about like online sales and phone sales, especially because body language is like 60% of
Mm-hmm.
communication. And when you have to remove that from your, ability to have conversations with people over the phone, you have to get really, really good about listening really intently and then being able to process that information. And so, how long, like, when did you start adding in that psychology of sales to the actual tactical side of what you were doing?
It was a process. Um, I think if someone wants to do really well, like, find something you really are passionate about. Because, like, when I talk about conviction and what you're passionate about, like, you can get, close rate of 30 to 40% just off of like charisma and like
Mm,
conviction. And people can read how passionate you are with that. And the other parts are like what's going to take you to a whole nother level. Like, when I went from, 20 to 30% close to 40 to 60, was learning all those other aspects of sales. But I did well even then and made some good money just by that charisma of what I was focused on. What I found though is there's three elements with, getting a good job. First one is you have to have a high ticket offer, right? There's a difference between being a Verizon, sales phone things, or a kiosk where it's like a low ticket offer compared to a high ticket offer. This is where you see like, people that are in real estate, right? What's better to
mm,
be in downtown Manhattan, New York, where every flat is $1 million plus, or somewhere out in the podunk of nowhere, right? It's the same amount of time, energy, and effort to sell those properties, but way different outcomes, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. Got to have a high ticket offer. So as you're first starting the high ticket information space, if that's where a lot of your audience is, because that's, a lot of people now shifting into, it's like what you got to do is try to like keep on building until you get something that's 10 to 15 to $30,000, on that higher ticket range. They're saying high ticket now, but it's like 2 to 5K, and so you have to just add more volume to it.
It
So
really has
that's not,
changed. The high ticket number has gone way, way crazy in the
yeah,
last couple of years.
yeah. And that's not bad. Good place to start. Like, figure out something that you can get those jobs pretty quickly, and then just try to keep on raising the bar to find that. So that's the first part. The other part is the commission you can get. Right, those people that are in real estate, they're getting 2 to 3% commission on that. So you need to try to find and negotiate it a way where you can get at least 10 to 15, sometimes 20% of a commission off of those sales deals, and then that makes the benefit. The third one is the amount of inbound leads that are coming in, right? Because I've been a part of high ticket offers that were not bad commission, but there was just like I had one shot a day. That was it, maybe, or you were in different roles where it's like you had to go hunt for it. So it's like if I'm in, so like, you know, car finance, insurance, those sort of things, I have to go, or even in real estate too, I have to go network and connect. I have to kiss babies, shake hands to just get that lead, let alone close them. Right. So if you can find an offer that's getting inbound leads coming to you, and there's a lot of them, man, you're going to stack a lot of like opportunities to learn really well and get better and better and better. And then there's elements of this where it's like, then you're just going to be crushing and make, you know, tens of thousands of dollars every single month. So I think there's those elements that are going to be really key for trying to figure out how to build an amazing career just in sales.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I like about that is that I always say success is a perspective, right? My version of it's going to be different than yours. And if you went and talked to our parents the day we were born, what they would say their version for us is like wildly different than where we are right now. So what I love about sales is that your role, whether you're sitting at a desk and you're just taking inbound calls and you're just closing deals and you're taking orders all day, great. If you can find an opportunity where you don't have to do all the extra effort and you just get paid to close deals, like hell yeah. I will never hate on somebody that's been able to find a spot where they just get to make sales and get paid really, really well for it.
Yeah.
However, what I've learned is that a sales professional who can generate their own leads literally gets the chance to write their own paycheck.
Yep.
And so, if you're going to get into this world, I highly recommend that you at least understand at a base level how to self generate. Because if you cannot self generate, as Nathan said, like you will find yourself in these positions where you might have an amazing offer, an amazing commission structure, but one at bat a day ain't going to get you there. So, Nathan, as you're kind of working in and working with these folks, how much of your time is spent like on the tactical of the sales versus helping them understand the marketing and how they all play together?
Yeah, there's a big overlap with sales and marketing, a big one, right? Because everybody needs leads and then you got to be able to close them, right? So there's a big culture right now with a hustle mindset where it's like you got to have a side hustle and you got to do that. But here are the four hats and skills you have to learn to be a business owner. You have to know how to market yourself, right? You need to know how to sell your service or product. You need to know how to do the fulfillment, and then you know the right systems and actually build a team around you to do that. Those are a lot of skills that you have to learn. If you really want to do the best, if you're an entrepreneur and you're first starting out, or you're just like, man, this is too much to learn, just stick with sales. That's what it's going to really be able to do that, because that's only one thing you have to learn, right? Compared to all those other hats and skills, or it should be the first one you do learn, right? And so if you do want to be able to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, just learn how to do sales really well. You'll have now money to then build a business and then leverage the skills you need to go and invest in mentors, coaches, resources, and other things to learn all the other aspects of leadership and, you know, AI and systems and fulfillment and all those sort of stuff. So stick with sales is what I would always say. If I did it reversed, I'd probably learn how to do sales first before marketing. But there's an overlap because ultimately marketing, I'm selling online, you know, through copy or, you know, emails or other aspects of, you know, things. But really it's just like learn sales, and then everything else will kind of fall into place as you're just like a go-getter, you know, to learn all of that. But that's what I found to really be helpful. The people that I serve now are people that are learning all of these different aspects of it. So I kind of chunk it down. But first and foremost, you need to know how to market yourself, because it's like I can be a great salesperson but no leads, or I can be really good at marketing, have all the leads, but poor at sales. You know, it's like I got to
Seen that
evenly
too.
know how to do market and sales to really be able to have amazing business. But if you're really good at doing sales and you want to really do that, then people on the business are going to provide those leads for you, or really teach you how to be able to get those in your hands so that you can do the sales and learn that process.
Yeah, I think you're right on with that. And one thing I will add, and I tell everyone that I meet in sales this very, very clearly. The thing that allowed me to elevate my sales game from making 7, 10, 15 grand a month to like 20, 40, 50 was learning copywriting. And even if you're not doing all your own marketing, learning copywriting and understanding the linguistics and how to communicate with people, it is going to absolutely change your life, both online and offline. And what I love about what you're saying is that overlap there of marketing from a copywriting perspective is people buy from people. They don't care what the logo is. They don't care, you know, how many millions of dollars your company has done over the years. Like none of that really matters if they don't like you. And I think a sales professional's ability to tell their story, especially with social media and the channels that we have to get ourselves out there, I think that will absolutely change any person in sales life if they learn copywriting. Are there any other skills besides copywriting that you think a sales professional may want to consider adding to their tool
Absolutely.
belt as far as like really important stuff?
You got to build a personal brand. There was one of my mentors. He had the chance to go connect with Richard Branson. He's the guy that has a Virgin Records, a Virgin Air. He
Mm-hmm.
has 400 plus, businesses. And he got to ask him, hey, what's the, number one skill or thing that someone should have to gain success? He's all brand is really key. So you think about this for a second. Richard Branson, he has 400 plus companies. More than half of them are all franchised from his name itself because they like that brand, right? So he was the one that even started. They just liked him and the brand that he was able to create. And so as you're building anything, build a personal brand while you're in the hustle of whatever you're doing. And it could be just the process of what you learned, or, even if you've got a chance to just say, hey, I had this call with this guy and this is what he dealt with, this, and this is how I overcame this, and this is how I was able to do it. Like some helpful ways of adding value and just building a personal brand about who you are, it will carry on the rest of your life of something you'll always carry whatever you do in the future. So I would highly suggest doing that, because I work with people now that are just starting this, or at least see the importance of building a brand, that everybody I work with wish they started way earlier to build that. And so in everything you do, just start there, posting your process and your journey, and that's going to carry a lot of influence with you the rest of your life.
Ooh, that's so good. And while I would love to nerd out on this topic with you for like the next 4 hours, I want to be respectful of your time, obviously the listeners' time. You have brought a ton of great information to the show so far. For those of us who have enjoyed the conversation, want to learn more, like what's the best way to come find you, check out more of your content, see what you have going on?
Yeah, best place is Instagram. I have a gift for everybody if they want to listen. Find me on Instagram. I have my own like playbook that I can give everybody. If they type in, sales and then Debris, your name, then you'll be able to you'll be able to connect, and I'll be able to send them that playbook. I think that would be helpful. But Instagram, I got my own podcast, the High Performance Podcast. You can find me on YouTube. And then I'm just about to release my own book too, of like going pro. Everybody, it would be probably helpful for people to kind of know what it takes. So you can find me over there on my website and stuff, and I'm releasing more of that.
Heck yeah, is that your first book launch?
It is, man. Yeah, I'm pumped about it.
Congratulations, brother. That's a big deal. That's awesome.
Yep, yep,
Well,
yep.
Well, listen, I'm excited to check it out. I can't wait to read the book. I know one of those things that has helped me build my brand and my authority in the space was writing books. And so I'm super excited to check out yours. I'm going to make sure all the links for all your stuff is down in the show notes. That way anyone can come and find it. Listen, if you guys enjoyed the show and you got as much value out of it as I did, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to share it out, put it on Instagram, social media, LinkedIn, whatever your preferred platform is. Tag me, tag Nathan. Let us know that you got something out of it. That's going to mean the world to us. And then maybe even send it to somebody you know that's like struggling at sales. Maybe they need to learn a thing or two. Don't tell them that they suck, but send them the episode and say, hey, man, I think you're going to get some value out of this. Check it out. And then tell them to go follow Nathan. I know I'm excited. And more than anything, that's why I love this industry, because it doesn't matter where you come from. You can learn from everyone that you chat with. And I know I've learned today. So Nathan, thank you so much for a little bit of your time, man. Really appreciate it.
Amazing. Yeah, glad to share and help as much as I can.
Awesome. Well, you guys know what to do next. If you have a story and you want to share it on the show, because you've been in sales and you've seen some of the crazy stuff we have, I need you to go to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your info, book in a time. Let's have a great conversation, because just like my friend Nathan today, sales will give you every opportunity in the world if you're willing to do the work and call the damn leads. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.